I had moved from New York. I lived on Wall Street in New York, so I wanted the same feeling. So that's kind of how I ended up in the financial district area amongst all the tall buildings. So I originally moved into this place by myself. About the smallest unit in the building. It was just a gigantic bed right in the middle of the room. And then gigantic entertainment system on one wall. I mean, it was typical bachelor pad. But then my wife moved up. Along with her came her giant wardrobe.
I'm a stylist, so I have a lot of clothes. I used to work for a jewelry subscription startup. That's where I got my startup start. So I had a lot of jewelry from that. Now having a clothing startup, it's all spiraled downhill from there.
The space kind of started cramming in on us. So we started looking around about what can we do?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, I had no interest in architecture whatsoever, but I definitely had an interest in fort building. You know, I had a fascination with these old British survival guides that had, you know, the little survival lean-tos and whatnot. And so kind of taking that idea, a lot of it, with this ability to kind of create this kind of small spaces that would serve all these sorts of functions, almost a way that you can kind of hold yourself up within. I think there's this, especially as a kid, there's this kind of magical world or this like romanticization of like what these spaces could be and like all the various potential of all the nooks and crannies and whatnot.
Sometimes I describe this as almost like a tabletop. It's a freestanding structure in the middle of the room, like a table. It just happens to be that our bed is on top of the table, and then underneath we installed all these closets and standing desk space and the Murphy bed. A lot of our friends come up here and they act like they're really scared, but maybe the first day or two, it was a little nerve-wracking being up here.
For us, we're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
If he can't stand up, it would be hard to fall over.
Yeah, it would actually be pretty hard to fall. I mean, if I felt like there's this beam right here, I could just grab the ceiling. There's a lot of ways that I could catch myself. I'd have to be very clumsy in order to actually stumble down and fall down.
And that's just so much better because it feels more open.
I mean, you know, having a queen-size mattress and bed frame down in the middle of the room, we don't want to close off the space again.
Also, we do occasionally watch TV from up there.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, so we'll sit here and just dangle our legs off and watch TV like this. I guess we figured this place is 537 square feet, but up here, what is this, about a 10 by 10 space or something? Yeah. Maybe we gained another 50 to 100 square feet. In San Francisco, I guess you'll take anything you can get.
San Francisco is kind of a funny place. In the rest of the country, they might be in their legitimate starter home as a new family. But in San Francisco, you got to deal with just, you know, San Francisco. So, you know, they really maximize kind of this, what you would think is a small place, but it's really now super customized just for them. So they used to have the pre-existing space, had a closet here, another closet here. So their idea was, you know, can we get rid of those closets to open up the space to have more access to these high ceilings, but then turn the closets back into something that is multifunctional.
So here, so one of the problems with the bed was we needed something incredibly thin.
Yeah, because
So
this
see how thin this
thickness
bed
is
frame
really
is.
thin.
What is
Yeah.
it, like an inch, I believe, if I remember. I'm not sure I remember.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
It's an inch thin. It's also need to be really lightweight because we were worried about this coming back and falling on someone. We ended up going with gas springs.
But typically a Murphy bed would be much thicker, so this being a really kind of tight design, we really had to figure out a way to get this whole thing within just, you know, 6 inches or whatever that is.
Including the mattress.
Yeah.
The cushion was store-bought,
Wow.
and then components of the bed were recycled from an IKEA bed. The repurposing of store-bought items helped reduce cost. We used extruded aluminum, and then we would custom make some of the hardware that's connecting this for it to work and hook onto our bed.
Is this cement?
This is cement. We wanted like a relatively thin profile because it's structural. We have concrete panels that are essentially lined up like dominoes, and then in between them we span plywood. If you're familiar with CNC,
Yeah.
we would
No.
CNC the formwork. In school, I was largely interested in computational design and digital fabrication, and I knew I wanted a workshop in order to kind of build some of my ideas that I was playing with. and not just design them. So a lot of this stuff was a learning process. Dealing with threaded holes and having everything line up and meet up so that these 3 holes match those 3 holes over here, all prefabricated, was a challenge. So when you have things that are kind of spanning up in the air and you have points with relatively tight tolerances, then everything has to come together like a kit of parts and there's not a lot of give. A piece of IKEA furniture is made with particle board or something along those lines, and it has give. Concrete, this has no torsional give. We also knew from the very beginning that we wanted this backside to be functional, to kind of put it back up. It's a dry erase board for Donnie's office.
So a lot of my day I actually spend right here doing programming.
You don't need much space for an office. Like,
No.
how much space is that, you know?
Yeah, not much at all. So I spend a lot of my day here. Once I get tired, I will grab one of these bar stools that we have. So when I get tired, now I've got a seat, I've got somewhere to sit down, and then so I'll sit here and then do work as well. And then having the whiteboard right here, a lot of the stuff that I do kind of requires me to draw things out. So, I might be like thinking about a couple of different screens and some sort of app that I'm designing. And the other thing that I actually do that I've been doing more recently, I didn't intend to work here as much, but I actually sit on this bench and we have that folding that dining table against the wall that folds, and I'll bring it out here, but then have like a giant table in front of me, where it kind of feels like I'm at a coffee shop or have a more traditional type desk where I have a lot of space and kind of space my things out. There's another half and it folds out a lot larger, but I only do that if we're having people over or something. But a lot of times I'll just sit right here. I call this my afternoon spot. So if I'm working from home all day, I'll usually start over on the standing desk, and then once I get tired a little bit, I'll sit down there, probably have lunch, and then after lunch in the afternoon, I'll come and kind of sit here and have a different feel. Move to a different spot.
Yeah, sure.
So I guess I'm always looking for ways to have, I guess, different work positions, because I think that's what I learned to love, having spent a couple of years now working for myself. I spend a lot of time working at co-working spaces or coffee shops. I guess I love that variety. Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Just the casual.
I was just taking them through all my different work areas, all the variety.
As you notice, he has a standing desk. I have no desk. That's because I do like to work on the bed. See, I can stand fully, and I think I'm shrinking because I swear there wasn't this much, or the ceiling's uneven, but I used to think my head was right at the top, and now I feel like I got some inches. And from up here, I feel like the people don't see in as much, and I can just sit up here. It's got great natural lighting. I can turn on my light and just get my work done. What we haven't devised is really, when I forget something down there, I make him hand it up to me. But we don't have a rope and pulley system or anything. And we don't need side tables, but what we do need is something where each of us can have our phones plugged in.
Yeah, I think the idea of house has changed a lot. What we need.
Things that are useful. Like our side table turns into a dining room table. That's the kind of things we need in a space like this. And we need things that are movable and easy to lift and lightweight, because I gotta be able to move around the furniture and make use of the space too. This is actually a really lightweight futon. I sewed in the Velcro myself so that it would stay. Because what we found with Murphy bed mattresses is that they slide if you don't have them secured.
Wow.
Pretty sturdy.
Because it's so thin.
Yeah. It has these, and we could lift this up, I guess, to show you. It has these support planks.
Yeah. Very thin, but still comfortable. I mean, if you sit
Yeah.
on it, and yeah.
And this futon itself will fold into a couch, like one of those on the floor couches.
We've never done that.
This was the last thing that we finished. So for a while we were living with it with just an empty space there. And this was the final piece. But this was maybe the most important piece to me, because I wanted to be able to have, our parents or our friends that come in just for a weekend be able to stay with us, because hotel prices in San Francisco are insane. Luckily, I don't think they'd want to stay more than a couple days. We still only have the one bathroom. So I think naturally they will not overstay their welcome. And we have had people stay on this Murphy bed.
Your parents.
My parents were the first ones to use it, I think.
They stay underneath, you stay up top, and it's open.
Open but separated.
Yeah.
I mean, before the way we had it with our beds all down here, when we had friends stay, the air mattress was literally right next to our bed. So that was definitely much more open than it is now.
Yeah, one of the biggest design decisions I think that was huge for us were extending the rails up so you had something to grab. You know, once you feel you've got the two rails, it's really easy to just back yourself down.
So rolling library ladders, generally what they call these ladders,
Okay.
because they were used with like tall bookcases, and essentially what you wanted was access to the books behind it, so you could move the library out of the way. In this case, it's if she wants to access this part of the closet, she can move the ladder over. If she wants to access over here, she can move this over. And then they can climb up here for their sleeping surface. This is the main bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, speaking to the railing, we wanted to bring this up higher, but we wanted to make sure that this wasn't an entirely uncomfortable place to be. We had the ability to, while you can't stand straight up, you can move around with relative ease without having to be on your hands and knees.
And with a loft, then you could have a guest over and be on the downstairs Murphy bed. Go down here and still have a little bit of privacy now.
My cousin's coming for a week in 2 weeks. She's gonna stay down there.
That's why we put his closet in here and not mine.
So in here we kind of, well, we keep some paperwork stuff down there, but you know, my jeans go in here.
That's a lot of space.
And then we have more continuation of rack over here. Suits and stuff in here. Yeah, so it ended up being a lot of closet and rack space.
So what's back here right now is we have a closet that is full length. Right now it's stuffed to the brim because I have stuff I have to donate.
Okay.
But it's a full length closet, so like we have our umbrellas in here and a ladder, like a full size ladder.
And we have that ladder in order to access things that are higher up on that wall.
I have my boots and he has his shoes. He has quite a few shoes, I think, for a guy.
All my drawers
That's
for
nice.
clothes,
Yeah.
shirts, sweaters,
Accessories.
shorts, accessories.
That's good.
And then on this side he has more closet space.
Yeah. Wow, actually fits a lot.
We measured out how much rack space he had before in his closet that we tore down. We wanted to make sure he had as much or more, and so he does actually have more.
And then I also use this closet for clothes as well.
We have all these little nooks.
Yeah.
And these I'd like to not have stuff, but we wanted to make all these functional, so we have these boxes that we put things in. He made this is like a little shipping center basically with a scale as well as a label printer for my sock business so we can ship out orders. Right, he has this computer here and then we do the fulfillment right here, so.
Oh, so this is the business here.
Yeah, it
Great.
is.
So do you make the socks? Are you selling someone's socks?
I design them and I have them made at a factory and then we sell them. They're for workout classes, so they have little grips on the bottom.
Okay.
And now I expanded to graphic t-shirts, long sleeves and short sleeves,
Oh, really?
tank tops. They're kind of all like tucked into different places.
Okay.
And this is my side hustle. I do actually have a quote real job. But some of the t-shirts we have are boss, not bossy. I was called bossy a lot growing up. But I'm a boss now. This is kind of like my locker. Like I have these things here that I wouldn't want to have out. We're not the magnet refrigerator kind of people, but I do put all of our mementos, my parents, my family. I think it's really important in a small space to be able to make it personal and have these personal touches and tchotchkes without having it feel like I clutter the space.
So the rule that I tried to implement.
He
didn't
had a
actually
rule, he
follow.
wanted me to get rid of one thing for everything I bought.
I think it was 2.
Two. That was too aggressive.
Up here you have little...
Yoga mats, right there. Exercise bands. I play a lot of tennis, so I've got a box for all my tennis grips and strings. I was listening to a podcast and it was some professor just talking about when you go through the things that you own, you're typically trying to figure out, oh, am I okay getting rid of this? Gift cards, I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that. It totally does not have gift cards in this box. But he said, you should actually flip your thinking. And the idea is that all of the stuff that you're looking through, none of it is in your apartment. But you're only going to bring it in if it actually, you look at it and it brings joy to you somehow. I don't know how many gift cards we thought we would have. We're always just thinking you're scared to throw something away, but the idea is, okay, you should only bring it in if it brings joy to you. Oh, socks. Socks everywhere. But, there's probably a lot of stuff in here that needs to go, but it's motivating, I guess.
I do have a little lip, a little overlap there. And of course his first thought was, that's perfect. It'll just be more socks.
There's actually a lot of socks.
So there's like
slid underneath
hundreds
there.
of socks in there.
So there's socks down here, up behind the bed. There happen to be a few socks in these boxes. But then there's also a ton of socks up in that white storage up above as well.
Kidding.
There's only one wasted space here left. And it's this little space back here.
Nothing goes on back there.
Yeah, so we probably have to find a storage device for the socks to go back there, but when I do my next collection.
We have talked about that space a lot. I mean, I guess we're obsessed with, maximizing efficiency and space.
How many square feet do you think is back here? It's at least
2.
And then the vertical square footage,
sure.
We'll have to figure out something to do with it. Donnie just got on a big kick where he wanted to optimize the storage space in the kitchen. I put an example of some of the things we built were like this.
That's great.
Because I don't have a pantry. That is one thing. And this is my little folding step stool that I need to be able to get up to anything in here. But we just put in these guys for organizing too. We have quite a bit of storage space in the kitchen. It's just a lot of it's high and none of it's equivalent to a pantry.
So in this closet, it's a combination washer and dryer. So you don't have to rotate the laundry. Just throw it in there, it washes it, and then it'll start drying it. And this is,
The ironing board, huh?
Yeah.
I guess we're always thinking, to try to use the back of doors because
Yeah.
big wasted space in general.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty large bathroom actually.
Yeah, it's actually a really large bathroom.
Close it just to see that. Yeah, shower. Oh, okay, I see boxes. Socks.
Yes. We don't normally store them here. They're normally out there. We just wanted you guys to get a better view of the lot.
That's great.
And there's a lot of people that this is the reality that they're dealing with in terms of square footage, especially with rising rental rates. There's this growing interest and kind of creative utilizations of space.
I can't say we sit on this bench together often.
Without the table.
Yeah, not without the table, I suppose.
Although I want to get some pillows, but he's not a big fan of decorative pillows. He's a little bit of a czar when it comes
No, that was
to
a little-
bringing stuff into our home.
I don't know why you need so many pillows if you're just going to remove them before you're going to go to sleep. Yeah, I guess we don't have a garage like a lot of people do to just throw all your random stuff into. Or an extra bedroom that you use for storage.
So a lot of what we were dealing with when we entered the space and looking at the context was the fact that we had these large windows that we didn't want to obscure, as well as we had the ceilings. And being able to kind of take advantage of both of those and create a space where people can be eating breakfast here, putting on their shoes, or guests could be waiting for dinner to come, and they can be speaking to people in the kitchen, and they don't have this sense that the clutter and the things are kind of upon you.
One of our latest additions was the new bar stools. We needed ones that we could use when we had the dining room table out because people were like, oh, you'll just get folding chairs. Where am I going to store folding chairs? These ones knock down to the perfect height for our dining room table. We don't have room to store folding chairs, let's be real. That's the thing. A lot of people that don't live in small spaces are like, well, why don't you just buy this and buy that and add more things? And they don't have the idea that things have to be as functional as they really need to be. It's perfect.
So now we can actually have a dinner with 4 or 5 or
more than
maybe
like,
6.
There's kind of a lot of room on this. That's the one thing. We didn't have a dining room table before this. All we had was the coffee table and the bar. So this felt like a large table.
The table's a little larger than would have been ideal, but
Maybe someday we'll build our own custom table, but I think thinking about everything being custom, just the price tag on all of that would add up so much.
If you want to live in a custom way, a lot of times what you could do is you could go off and buy these products, so to speak, like, a moving thing, like a moving desk or a moving bed. And we like those approaches too, but we also were thinking like, how can you design something that is solid but multifunctional? And so we have some elements that move here, like the bed, which Charles fabricated himself, but the design of it is to have permanent spaces that don't actually change dynamically, but they are dynamic in the sense that they're multifunctional. Charles is really good at fabricating and tinkering, but many people who want to invest a little bit of time with their hands and energy, they could really do this themselves. I know we really like to think of this as more of a DIY type of feel to it, but professionally done.
But more people could, and you could hack
If
for
we
them.
handed them the design, it'd be relatively easy for them to do it. Especially if they can handle basic power tools that you find in the home.
So when we want to switch the space into theater mode, Nikki, can you hit the light?
Yeah.
Watching TV on these recliners, or up top on the loft sometimes. We've gotten more and more efficient with how we're using this space. Sometimes we'll just watch from here. I built this little cardboard thing that you throw on top of it, and the idea is that it helps project the volume downwards to even it out.
And what's nice is the separate lights underneath this loft make it so that at night when he's down here working, he can have his lights on, and it really doesn't light up the whole place. It kind of stays enclosed under here. So like if we did have guests and they wanted to stay up and read or something, and these are on a dimmer, in a big open space like this, there wasn't really that option before. We're like totally separate schedules, and then I also teach a workout class, and I teach at like 6 in the morning. So not having our bed in the main space makes a big difference. Just in terms of having it elevated, it's a little more separate. It means I can like not get dressed in the total darkness.
Actually, we mounted the projection screen in a way where Nikki can still access her closets behind it.
We've been in this space actually 6 years. I think that's pretty impressive. We went from dating to engaged to married, and we have survived. So I think if you can live in a small space together, you can last anything.